Welcome back to the Bible in a Year. I'm Dr. Berner, and I am just providing simple commentary and some quick guidance in these videos. Been pretty good with them. We are on day 3 of the read through, and we are on our third video. Pretty good. And I don't know if the videos will continue consistently every day, but we'll do our best on my end. We have Genesis 8, 9, 10, and 11 today. That's going to wrap up this section of Genesis, and then tomorrow we'll jump into Job. The read through that we're doing this year is a chronological read through. So, based on the historical evidence and archaeological records that we have dealing with the manuscripts, that's the order that we'll be taking the reading. So, we insert Job between 11 and 12. Genesis 1 through 11 is what we call primeval history, sort of the first age, how the world was created, the first man, the generations of the first man, all the way to Noah, the flood, which sort of is a recreation, a destruction and recreation of the earth, at least the surface of the earth. And then we'll pick back up after Job, which seems to be one of the older characters in the Bible. There's a lot of rudimentary things going on there, and then we'll pick back up after Job with Genesis 12 and what we call the patriarchs or the patriarchal history, covenantal history with Abram. All right, so what happens in Genesis 8? We have this interesting line where it says, "But God remembered Noah." So they've been in the ark for quite a while. It is you can calculate all the days, um, and so it's been a long time. And they're going to send doves out multiple times to see as the waters subside to see if there's dry ground. And so this goes on. But Genesis 8 starts with, but God remembered Noah. And we shouldn't take this God remembering as like God forgot, but we should take it in a higher sense. And this commentary says it really nicely. When the Old Testament says God remembered, it combines the ideas of faithful love and timely intervention. And whenever it says God remembers, it's always followed by God's movement towards that thing he remembers. So it's not this idea of forgetfulness, but it's this idea of now it is time. It's God's time to move, and he moves faithfully. It says in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried from the earth, off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry in the second month. On the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. Then God said to Noah, "Go out from the ark, you and your wife and your sons and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." We see here a restatement, and God will do this again in at the beginning of chapter 9 with his covenant with Noah. We see a restatement of the very first command that God gives Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply, to subdue the earth. We do have God's covenant. Then Noah, first thing he does is build an altar to the Lord. This is always a good movement to the Lord. We'll see that when we jump back in to Genesis after Job, Abram building altars to the Lord at different times. Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered a burnt offering on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever strike down every living creature as I have done while the earth remains. Seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply." He also pronounces sort of a proto Ten Commandments here. Whoever sheds the blood of a man, so by man shall his blood be shed, sort of a do not murder. Again, be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly, subdue the earth. This was the command given to Adam and Eve as well. And he offers a visual sign of his covenant to never flood the earth again in the form of a rainbow. And he also gives animals, the flesh of animals, to man to eat. So before this, man consumed only vegetation. Now he'll consume the animals. Then we get this line of descendants, and the descendants are important through this year-long read through the Bible. And these videos, I intend to follow the line of the seed. So the proto-evangelium that we talked about in a previous video, Genesis 3:15, will follow that line of the seed. We see Noah's sons here, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem will be the line of the seed. There are some things that go on with sinfulness and drunkenness here, where Ham and his offspring end up being cursed. They become the Canaanites. So one of his sons is Canaan, and they are cursed. We'll see that pop up later in Exodus and Joshua, where the Israelites go into the promised land to take the land from the Canaanites. And moving into 10, we have the descendants of Noah. You'll run across very familiar names, especially if you're familiar with archaeology. So you'll run into, and if you're just familiar with the Bible, names of cities. Let's see, we've got the Canaanites, of course. We've got Nimrod mentioned. Nimrod is from the Sumerian civilization and the Akkadian civilization, some of the earliest civilizations that have cuneiform writing. One of their leaders was Nimrod. We also have Jebusites, Canaanites, uh, Hamorites, so they're kind of named after their progenitor. And then we get to Shem. This is where really familiar names will pop up. To Shem, also the father of all the children of Eber and Aram and Us. This is a city that we know about from ancient Akkadian Sumerian history. So we see all these things. Then we get into 11, and this is the Tower of Babel. Everyone speaks one language. They get it in their sort of in their hearts and in their minds to build a tower to God. It's not actually a tower to God. It's a tower to display almost their superiority to God. So they build this, and this echoes sort of the state of the world before Noah built the ark and God sent the flood. And God comes down and confuses their language, so they disperse. From here, we get many, many different cultures and languages in biblical history, where we would say all the different people groups and the languages of the world kind of are created here. There's common misconception. God does not create race here in 11. It's purely language based. You would see within the genetic code of Adam and Eve, and then all the way down through Noah and his sons, the enough genetic information to get all the beautiful diversity that we see in the world today, from eye colors to hair colors to skin colors to height. All these things we see in the genetic code. What we have here is more cultural based, different languages being formed, groups moving off with like groups based on language. We get Shem's descendants, very important here. Uh, and you can follow all those down, who fathered who and how long they lived. And finally, we end with the great, 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 great grandson of Shem is Terah. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So in the line of the seed, we have Adam, Eve, we have Seth. From Seth, you can follow his line in Genesis 5 all the way to Noah. And then from Noah, we have Shem. And from Shem in Genesis 11, we can follow Shem all the way to Terah and Abram. Of course, Abram is going to be changed to Abraham. Then we have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and it goes on from there. This section of primeval history ends with Terah took Abram, his sons, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, the daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205, and Terah died in Haran. It's at this point, when we're finished with Job, that we will pick up the story of Abram in chapter 12. Tomorrow is going to be Job, and I'll drop a video for you then. Thanks for tuning in.